All right. Well, greetings and welcome, everyone. Very excited to have you join us. If whether you're watching this in the morning and the evening, we're recording our very first podcast. Our plan is to do a couple of these throughout the year, but it's really called Facts, Fantasies, and Frustrations, the transition from residency to the real world. And I'm very honored to have a couple gentlemen I've had the opportunity to get to know over the last few years. Dr.Thaer Alqadoumi, recent graduate from Loma Linda, and Dr. Diehl, recent graduate from the University of Colorado. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to them. We are planning to do a couple of these throughout the year, so stay tuned. At the end of the presentation or the podcast, I'll put my email address up, and if you have any questions you'd like these gentlemen to answer the next round, definitely submit those. If you'd like to see us take this live on Instagram, by all means, let me know that as well. So, Dr. Alqadoumi, I'm going to turn it over to you first. Why did you choose Perio? Give me a funny dental school story. What are you doing now?
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, first of all, for doing this. And I'm glad to be here with Dr. Diehl. And thanks to Oasis for this opportunity that is good for the residents and for everyone. So my name is Thaer Alqadoumi. I'm a recent grad from Loma Linda University. I did my pre-training over there. I also did my DDS training at Loma Linda. And before that, I had my training in University of Jordan. That's where I originally come from. Now, currently I'm practicing in private practice and corporate and part-time faculty at Loma Linda in addition to some GP offices. Now, if we go to why did I want to do perio and how did I get to this point? I think it all started exactly when I got right out of dental school and started practicing in private practice. Unfortunately, the training that we get in dental school is not a good training to show you what a periodontist can do. And mostly we thought that the periodontist is a super hygienist. They only do SRPs, sometimes osseous surgery. So we were not really informed on what a periodontist can really do. Seeing the periodontist coming to the office, what they can do, what the procedures that he did, I was like, oh, you guys do all of that from sinus to soft tissue to ridge augmentation to multiple procedures that made me really interested in learning more. And that's when I decided, okay, you know what, that's what I want to do, and started digging more. And funny story, I tell you, I mean, I enjoy removing calculus, and it gives me a good feeling. And maybe it's part of my OCD, I don't know what, but yeah, that's where initially this came to mind, and that's how I got from there.
What about a funny story? You gotta have something to humor us.
A funny story, residency. Okay, let me tell you funny story residency. I had one of the patients, I was in my first year, and I hope the first year residents are hearing me now. That patient, she came for an annual exam. I recommended a connective tissue graft, and she was like, have you done this before? And my first instinct was, do I be honest and tell her that's gonna be my first time ever? Or do I tell her a couple of times, or do I lie a big lie and say, oh, 100 times, don't worry about it. So I I had to throw a joke. I told her, oh, I've watched it a couple of times on YouTube just to break the ice and just to kind of show her that, oh, I've done this before. She goes, you know what? Maybe I'd rather to wait and have a third year do it for me. And funny thing is, she actually waited 2 years, and when I was a third year, that's when she came back and I did the procedure for her.
Oh,
So, but you should have seen my face that day. It was, oh, I have my son over here jumping right behind me. It's one of
That
those,
makes it real life right there. I've got
right?
mine
That's
here
the
like
real
in
life.
terms
That's
of
why we want
stories.
to keep it facts and
That's right.
simple to people, show them the reality. Um, yeah, so this was a kind of embarrassing moment, like this moment right now, how my son jumped behind me.
it's
But I mean, I'm happy that I'm today with Dr. Kyle, where both of our experiences, when you ask about what leaving residency, where are you at and what you're doing, we both have the both perspective of almost all types of practices going outside from residency. So I hope that's going to be helpful for everyone watching this.
Excellent. All right, Dr. Diehl, over to you. Why Perio? Give me a funny story, and what are you doing now?
Yeah. So first off, I think it is really nice. You know, not just always, you know, I know as residents and everybody, they're worried about if people are doing product pitches and whatnot, but really, this is a very cool opportunity, and I appreciate Oasis asking us about it. You know, it's not, hey, keep showing, you know, your cases and how you're using our product. This was really just to ask questions about residency. So I want to definitely give thanks to you guys on that. I think that that's really neat, and we all do need to chat more. And I think, you know, just, you know, snippets on Instagram and things like that can give people some anxieties. I know we've talked about that between us before on trying to be the Instagram periodontist versus the effective periodontist, but really appreciate this opportunity. And I also want to tag off of that, you know, we've taken some interesting paths to get to where we are. And I don't think either of our paths are probably what anyone else will do. You know, we've done some extra things we're filling in, and I know both of us are part-time faculty now, and it's interesting because I think you know, Dr. Thaer is doing a little bit more in clinic teaching. I'm doing basic science teaching because of my PhD background. I'm teaching some first years, like just basic physiology, and kind of getting hopefully people excited about, you know, what's to come. I opened a private practice, and then I'm actually working part-time in a group practice, and that's one I'm really excited about. It's a practice that has oral surgery, endodontics, oral medicine, and perio. And I've got some fascinating pieces to that too that I think would interest some people, you know, and just expanding, continuing to learn and have pieces. So I think between the two of us, this will be really good, but because we're covering a lot of ground, but it also is ground that maybe not everyone is going to cover or be interested in, but hopefully everyone is appreciative of at least a snippet of it, you know? But my interest in perio, and I'll kind of try to keep this short because unfortunately it was a super long road, a long path. But it started out, I was in medicine, I was accepted to an MD PhD program, and I was working through my graduate student studies, and I have, my mom is in a hospital nurse, and so I was spending a lot of time with physicians, and they're like, they gave me that like look in the face, they're like, don't do it. Stay far away from medicine. But it made me rethink kind of what I was doing this all for, and what I wanted my life to look like in my 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I was doing research in cardiovascular disease, and my wife, who was in pre-dental, she's like, you should really look at dentistry. And so I started looking at it. I was like, I've never even thought about being a dentist. Started to look at things, and really started to appreciate some of the systemic health aspects of periodontal disease, and where dentistry fits in. You know, we can all argue till we're blue in the face on how much anything has a factor on each other, but I'll leave it at kind of systemic disease and the whole system being one. And, you know, if we can keep the whole system healthy, we can pretty well keep all the individual parts healthy. But that's how I got in. It was really looking at how I was going to be able to do research and at the time save the world, you know, one periodontal patient at a time. But no, it's opened up a lot of things. It's an amazing area, and you know, we were just talking about that earlier. Like, it's amazing to see all the stuff that a periodontist does, you know, from, you know, the basics of cleaning, which I actually think are also very satisfying. And let me tell you, in dentistry, or probably any piece of medicine, if you can do something with super high predictability, it's fantastic. And there is nothing more predictable than cleaning people's teeth that are absolutely blown away and seeing a huge benefit. So like you were saying, sometimes just cleaning off some calculus or a lot of calculus and getting people healed up is very very much like a huge power up to the system and the soul. But yeah, I think, you know, that's kind of what got me to this spot. And now, you know, running through, filling every possible hour of the day that we are trying to figure it all out, right?
100%. Now, what you got to give us a funny story. You got to give us something humorous. God,
you know, I'm dragging between ones that aren't funny enough and ones that shouldn't be said aloud, you know. But I've got some you know, one I'll say, you know, we're doing sedations, and you know, people say the darndest things when they're half asleep. And I had a lady, God, she was just super wound up and just doing a simple connective tissue graft. And she, you know, we're waking her up and she's pretty groggy. And I was like, oh, you know, like, how are you doing? How's everything feeling? And she just looks over at me like with the biggest dazed look on my face, or on her face. And she's like, oh, you were so much better than my husband. And I was like, oh, geez. Like, oh, no. What are you oh, man. If I kind of like, I don't think it's set in right away. And I was like, okay, like, you're waking up, you're coming back to it. But my assistant was dying. She was on the floor dying. I was like,
that is fantastic.
That's a good one.
That's fantastic.
But I'll never forget that one.
No. All right. Well, let's dive in and see if we can give some advice out. Well, at least you two. Dr. Alqadoumi, this one's for you. What's your best piece of advice for a new resident, first year resident? You know, we're in August. They're 60 to 75 days in now. What's your best piece of advice?
Okay, so definitely the first advice is that residency depends on you, not your faculty, not the school that you're in. Now, definitely if you're in a good school, good faculty, you have good support, it's going to help. But at the same time, residency is 70 to 80% what you do. So they're not going to spoon feed you. They're not going to read for you. They're not going to do anything for you. If you don't cross above and beyond, you're going to be at the end of the group and you're not going to succeed and you're not going to do good. Now, my advice, read as much as you can. Watch videos, watch lectures, CEs, webinars. I think one of the only good things that COVID gave us, everything else is horrible, but the only good thing is the virtual life that has changed, like what we're doing right now. And there's a lot of videos are available now that they can watch, they can learn. Before any surgery, I watched at least 5 to 10 videos about how it's done. And at the beginning, I was a copycat because I did not have my skills. I did not know how to do it and how to fix things. So this is very important. I watched a lot of videos on Dental XP, YouTube, Osteocom. There's a lot of webinars that they can attend. Also CEs, AAP meeting, AO, go to the corporate forums. You see more stuff that are of the daily basis things that are done, in addition to the other AAP lectures that are more research, scientific, evidence-based, and multiple other things that they can definitely do. The other thing, to have a mentor. This is very important. Have somebody, whether a third-year resident or a periodontist outside in practice or somebody overseas, whatever. Have someone who you can talk to about your cases, about what do you have tomorrow and what suggestions do you have for me. This is very, very helpful, and it helped me a lot at the beginning. And I don't say I don't have a mentor yet. I still have a mentor. I still have some people I go back to. Hey, what do you think? Because we never stop learning. And if anybody claims that they're done, guess what? This means they're dead, because that's the only day that we'll stop learning. Last advice is take pictures. Please, I beg every resident, beg you to take pictures for every single surgery you do, no matter how simple it is and how complicated it is. Take pictures. To me, this was the best learning tool. I would take picture, go home, pull it up on a big screen and critique myself. Show it to my mentor, critique me. Sometimes I'd be like, we're crazy. And that's why we get a lot of depression, dentists, because I go back, oh, I should have put my suture 0.5 millimeter more on to the mesial. I should have put my membrane this way. So all of these things make you learn and see when a problem comes back. Okay, now I know why this problem happened, because I was lacking something over here. In addition to, if you like lecturing and teaching in the future, you're going to have a nice portfolio, a nice set of cases that you have had follow-up since your first year. And that's also been very, very helpful.
Awesome. Dr. Diehl, what about you? What first year residence? What are your pearls?
I'll do that quick backup on photographs. And I know it's tough because sometimes you're doing a quad osseous and it takes you a couple hours. And the last thing you want to do is deglove or try to find some, but those are huge. And sharing within the resident room. I mean, ours was a tight space and we were a close group. And I mean, if you're embarrassed about what you did or things, like, you're only hurting yourself, you know. If any of us look back on our work 5 years ago, no matter what stage of our careers we're in, we're always going to be like, oh, that was trash compared to what I do now, or I could do something different or better. So, you know, share with everybody, you know, put things out that you might not love, because someone might give you some great advice as to like just a quick little fix instead of just scrapping it. So that's good. I think, and this can kind of be blown up in a different way, but start thinking with the end in mind. And what I mean with that is, if you have interest in academia and being in academics, like, figure out what that means now. If you have an interest in owning your own practice, go find out what that means now, and what you want to be a part of. I've made some kind of big mistakes that I got lucky on. And I don't know if they're mistakes. I got lucky into it. So with the pandemic, we had an opportunity, because of the way that our clinics were structured, that we could moonlight a little bit. And so I started an LLC and everything early. And by doing so, it helped me on the back end when I was trying to get funding to start my own practice. They're like, oh, you have 2 years of an established business. Like, oh, that's great. And I wouldn't have been something I would have even known to do. And I think when we're in training or in school, you know, you're wound up in school and just learning, which is good. And you know, there's enough time being spent doing that. But if that's your goals at the end, or who and what area you are looking to associate, like, go see what that's about. You know, I know a lot of people are coming out with different experiences. Some people go out and do general dentistry for a little while first. Some people are coming from international programs. Some people, so everyone's got maybe some different experience, but no one has gone out to be a periodontist yet in any of those settings. So go see what that is. And you might find out that you had something that your heart was really set on going in. And if you don't do anything about it, your heart might be a little set on it for the whole 3 years. And then you get out and you're pretty disappointed. So that would be my other thing is use this time, not just to learn periodontics, which you should. I 100%, like, I set in time now, you know, I read a little bit every night. I have specific, you know, chunks of time, because I have a lot to learn still, but I'm glad that I also set aside time to go figure out what I want to do. And I think I cut off some mistakes that I probably would have made. And I found some areas that I don't think I would have made these decisions first year, that now I'm like, gosh, this is my favorite part.
Nice. I like it. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. Dr. Alqadoumi, you're big on social media. I know that. I'm sure a lot of other people watching this will know that. But, you know, what effect has social media had on the specialty, and even more specifically with residents?
Yep. So let me tell you my experience, and I'm sure everyone who's on social media and currently is a resident or practicing gonna tell you, yes, this is very right. Now, looking at Instagram, Instagram is an amazing platform, but and but is very, very big word, because the problem with Instagram, we don't see reality. We don't see complications. We don't see the problems that happen. And when I started 2020, when COVID hit, I had nothing to do but either to fight with my wife or just to just to post on Instagram, because she was the one who made Instagram for me, 2015, and I never used it. So I was like, you know what? Let me start posting stuff on Instagram. And at that time, I only had my surgeries because I was first year, didn't have a long follow-up, maybe 2, 3 months, whatever. So I have not seen problems yet, right? So I'm posting cases, nice, beautiful. I go to do surgery, and then during the surgery, I'm getting some complication or things are not working out like the picture in my mind that I've seen on Instagram. I'm like, oh, this is not gonna work. It's not the same picture as what I saw on Instagram. But this should not stress you out. This should not add more burden to you, because we know every patient is different. Every surgery has its circumstances. Some patients things work nicely. Some patients they're bleeders. Some patients they're uncooperative. Their tissue is different. Everyone is it's a different game for each one.
Mhm.
So I take Instagram to, and when I post my cases, I post from start to finish because I want to show people sequencing how did I get there, because I want them to learn. And at the same time, I started posting all the complications and all the crap that's coming back. Because guess what? It's gonna happen. If it does not happen, this means you did not work enough, or you're lying. One of two options. So the fact that I can see step by step how things are done, that's good for me to see, okay, he did the incision this way, he raised the flap that way. Oh, this video is beautiful. It's showing me how to handle the membrane. So I'll take the good things out of Instagram. But at the same time, I'm not going to it's good to aim high. But remember, when you look at Joe Can work, he's been working for 20, 25 years or 30 years. This guy is a god. You can't in one day come and try to copy him. It needs a lot of time and experience, but it's good to see all the good work and be realistic and know there is limitation, there is biology that limits us.
Yeah. Dr. Diehl, I know you and I were talking a little bit earlier today. What is your biggest aha moment 60 days out? Like, what is the biggest, you've got your residency 60 days now.
Yeah.
What's the big one?
No matter what, on the other side, it is the other side, and no one's done it before. Or sorry, like you haven't experienced it yet, no matter what you've prepared yourself for. And things are it's tough starting out. I feel really glad. I feel like my residency prepared me a ton. We did a lot of surgery, a lot of sedations, a lot of pieces. But when you're dealing with insurances, when you're making your fee schedules, when you're out getting referrals and talking referrals and doing lunches, and I've given a CE for Strawman, and I've done, like, these are not things I've done before, and it's new, it's a lot. And even if just, I guess, find a way to enjoy the ride, but there's still a bit to go after residency before you probably get into that zone of like, okay, I feel good. One of my business partners, he has owned his practice. He graduated residency in 2015 or 16. I want to say it was 16. And he's just now, like, 5 years in, he bought his practice and everything. He's just now getting into that spot where he's like, I feel good on weekends. I feel good at night. Like, all my stuff's done. Things are ordered. I know all my my referrals. He runs a Seattle Study Club. Like, those things are set up. So that's been my biggest, is I thought it would be a decent relief of getting out of residency. And it's different. It's nice. You know, it's nice to not be a student and all of those things. But man, buckle up, because you know, there's a lot to learn still, and there's a lot of pieces. I'll tell you seriously, no joke. And maybe this is a nice thing to say for the residency that I finished, you know, in my director, but periodontics is the easiest thing I do right now.
Yep.
Like when I do surgery, it's the easiest thing I do. And it's like, this is great. It's all the other stuff where I'm like, this is really tough. It's tough to balance, it's tough to figure out.
And you know, to add up to your point, Kyle, it's not only, and I want the residents to be aware, it's not only your problem as a practice owner or a business owner. Even me now, being in a perio practice with another 3 or 4 periodontists, guess the GP, when they refer the cases, who they can ask for? The one that they have been working with for the last 10 years. Not me. It's not because they don't trust me. They don't know who I am. They just know that guy. So that's why it adds a lot of stress on my end, especially the ones who practiced before going into perio. I practiced for a couple of years, so I knew as a GP what I'm able to do and then what I'm able to make on daily basis. Because when we finish perio and we want to go out, we're like, oh, okay, we have student loans we have to pay, we have a lot of debt, blah, blah, blah. And then we get a shock, we get slammed in the face. We're like, what? Is that what, how my day is going to be? But to be honest, it is tough at the beginning. It's a bumpy road, but it's going to get better with time. But again, it needs a lot of work. Today I was at lunch, same thing. I'm having to do lunches with endodontists, with GPs, as we have to do CEs in order to reach out to tell them, hey, the new periodontist in town in that office that has 3 other periodontists may have something that can help you and help your patients. So it's going to be a work when you get out, no matter what. It's your office. If you work for someone, no matter what, you gotta do some work.
All right, Dr. Alqadoumi, another one for you. What was your toughest part of residency? What was the toughest part for you?
Toughest part. I think the toughest part was dealing with the 2 kids and residency. And I never stopped working. I was moonlighting on Saturdays. So for the last 6 years, I've been doing 6 days a week. It was very overwhelming from reading, studying, trying to keep up with literature, videos, even Instagram. That's another job. Instagram takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And residency. So I think this was the biggest challenge, but I want to tell everyone who's there and they have kids and they have all these commitments. If I was able to do it, guess what? You're way better than me and you'll do it. So don't let these stresses take over. It's going to get nasty at some points. That's normal. But the more you know what's going to come at the end and the light at the end of the tunnel, you will see the rewards coming back. Like the day that I presented my thesis, I mean, the whole world cannot imagine the happiness that I was in. I was like, done with 3 years, done with my research, did what I have to do. So when you get something in a really difficult, hard way, you have more self-satisfaction when it's much easy and just nice and smooth road. That's, to me, that's how I feel.
I like it. I like it. Dr. Diehl, one for you here. What are there, you talked a little bit about you forming the LLC, kind of looking at what's the future is going to hold, but are there 2 or 3 things that you would really, really recommend the residents do right now to really set themselves up post-residency?
Yeah, so I don't want to double back on some of the things we said, but I think they apply here. Is one, find out what it is or who it is that does what you want to do. You know, one, like Dr. Alqadoumi said, like it gets you a mentor, maybe. And someone to touch base on, something to do there. But the second part of that is you could be somewhat preparing now, you know, and figuring out what that's going to take, some things that might benefit you doing now that doesn't take away from the residency, doesn't take away from your training, but some things you can do now that probably sets you up to be in a good position. So that's one thing that I would say for the now thing. And utilize the people around you. Like, I'm gonna jump in kind of on a piece of what we were just talking about there, but like I would not be here without my wife, my life partner. But it doesn't have to be a wife or spouse, but like your residents. I lean on my co-residents still today. I text them every day. What do you think of it? We send pictures back. We send stuff about equipment back. We send stuff about reps, conferences, utilize people in your life, make a team. And there's no one around me that, would say that that's not something that encompasses who I am. I grew up team stuff, but I don't do much alone. I want people's input. I want to do things. I want to have more than, I think sometimes, my own space can get a little wild. Like I need other people to help harness me in and create what I'm hoping to create. So those are things like use this net, create the net, create who your team, and cut bad pieces out of it, but keep opening up for more. And then, hit us up. We're doing things like this, not that you have to use this, but like I have some information. Dr. Alqadoumi has some information, and then we might have people too to get you in contact with, so that we can help people. My biggest thing that I want to get out of doing things like this is I don't want residents to leave residency and realize that they put themselves in a bad situation the first 2 years out. There are bills to pay, there's things to do, and I think people unfortunately have to figure out sometimes the bad side of what, just because they were getting out, they didn't quite know, they were just trying to get a paycheck and figure it out. Like, what can we do to help cut off some of that figure it out time? So
I like it. Well, gentlemen, I want to be respectful of your time as well as the audience's. We're about 35 minutes in. I say we put a bow on session number 1 here, and then for the audience, we're planning to do, I think, 3 more of these throughout the these two gentlemen's first year, the transition, the facts, frustrations, and fantasies, the transition, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to put a screen up real quick for everybody to take a look at. Can you see that, Docs?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So, if you have any questions you'd like for these two gentlemen to ask next time we get together, please email me. My email address is on there. Do you want us to take this live next time? Should we do this on Instagram Live? So we'd love your feedback. Look forward to, hopefully you enjoyed this. Like I said, this was not supposed to be product related. It's really for the residents. And again, very blessed and humbled to have these two gentlemen join me. And with that, I'll put a bow on the first one. So gentlemen, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for putting it together.